Hare Krishna. So we have seen 13th chapter titled The Nature, the Enjoyer and the Consciousness. Elaborately, shloka by shloka. Now let's see the summary of the entire chapter with all the 35 shlokas together. So what is the connection between chapter 12 and chapter 13? So there's a transition that is happening. So as we have seen in Bhagavad Gita, the first 6 chapters, they talk about attaining bhakti through karma, karma yoga. Middle 6 chapters exclusively talk about bhakti. And the last 6 chapters talk about attaining bhakti through jnana yoga. So now here, 12th chapter was the last chapter which was talking about bhakti exclusively. So in this chapter, Krishna made a point. He promised that he'll deliver his devotees from the cycle of birth and death. Mrityu samsara sagarat. So now the details, philosophical details of how to extricate oneself from this material nature or from this material world or from the ocean of birth and death, Krishna is giving all the philosophical points here in the next section, that is from chapter 13 to chapter 18, and is also called as the Jnana section. And chapter 13 is titled as the nature, enjoyer and consciousness. That is the material nature, the super soul and the individual soul. So let's start and we'll go through the entire chapter and understand the flow and also understand the connection between the verses now which are there. So it all starts with the first verse where Arjuna is asking question. So 6 questions is asked by Arjuna. That, oh Krishna, can you please explain first Prakriti, second Purusha, third Kshetra, and then Kshetragya, Jnanam and Jneyam. So in this way, these are the six questions that Arjuna has asked. And what is Krishna doing now throughout the chapter? He's trying to answer these 6 questions. He's trying to describe these 6 topics that Arjuna is asking him to describe. So from shloka number 2 to 7, Krishna is describing about Kshetra and Kshetragya and some part of Jnana also. So here we see in shloka number 2 and 3, very clearly Krishna has spoken about Kshetra, about the body, and individual soul as being the Kshetragya, and in shloka number 3 he makes it clear that I am also one of the Kshetragya. That is, Paramatma or super soul is also one of the knower of the body. Now after that, from 4 to 5, shloka number 4 and 5, now Krishna is promising, he's quoting some authorities and he's promising to explain Arjuna elaborately the topic of Kshetra and Kshetragya. Now after that, shloka number 6 and 7. Now this shloka, these 2 shlokas are very, very important. They are actually talking about how this entire material body, the Kshetra or the field of activity, is made up of. And then we also understood through elaborate discussion that it is made up of 24 material elements. 24. So 5 are the Pancha Mahabhuta, earth, water, fire, air, ether, and then the 5 senses, that is knowledge acquiring senses, that is eyes, nose, ears, tongue and skin, and then 5 working senses, speech, hands and legs, anus and genitals, and then the 5 sense objects. For eyes it's the form, for ears it's the sound, for nose it's the smell, for the tongue it's the taste, and for skin it is the touch. And now the 4 subtle things: mind, intelligence, false ego and unmanifested 3 modes of material nature. So in total 24 elements are there in this. So in this way our entire body, both gross and subtle body, is made up of these 24 elements. And 25th element is the Kshetragya, that is the individual soul, and 26th element is the Paramatma or the super soul. So now after speaking about this, now Krishna takes us through elaborate discussion on process of acquiring knowledge. And he has elaborately spoken about this particular thing from shloka number 8 to 12. But one very important point here in this set of shlokas is anyone who takes to devotional service. So let me find the exact word. Mai chananya yogena bhaktir avivicharini. The process of knowledge terminates in unalloyed devotional service to the Lord. So anyone who does this, that is unalloyed devotional service to Lord Sri Krishna, at that time, all these qualities as are mentioned here, starting from amanitvam, going till tattva jnanartha darshanam, all this will manifest automatically. There is no need of any extra endeavor. So devotional service has to be done, everything else will manifest automatically. So this is mentioned from shloka number 8 to 12. And obviously, just to go through some of the qualities mentioned here, the process of knowledge, amanitvam, that is humility, then pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, and then freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home, and rest of the things, detachment from general mass of people, acceptance of importance of self-realization, and so on. So many others are there. So total 20 process of knowledge are given here. And Krishna makes a very strong point that anything apart from this that is mentioned in the shloka 8 to 12, it's ignorance. This is what he's saying. Now, from shloka number 13 to 19, object of knowledge is spoken. So what did Krishna do in this? First, he started with describing the individual soul, and then elaborately he has discussed about the super soul. Like for example, so in shloka number 14, he makes it very clear about the super soul, and shloka number 13, just one shloka before, he's talking about the individual soul. The individual soul is spirit, beginningless, and it is subordinate to Krishna or Paramatma. And what about the Paramatma? Everywhere are his hands, legs, eyes, heads and faces. He has ears everywhere, he is all pervading. And then in the next shloka, shloka 15, he is saying that he is unattached, but still he is the maintainer of all beings. He transcends the modes of nature, but at the same time he is the master of all modes of material nature. And then he is subtle, he is beyond the power of the material senses to see or to know. And then he is divided, he appears to be divided amongst all beings, but he is never divided. And also he is the maintainer of every living entity. It is to be understood that he devours and develops all. So in this way, till shloka number 19, different qualities are given. And especially in shloka number 19, Lord is saying that who can understand all these concepts? Only one category of people. Who are they? They are my devotees, Krishna is saying. My unalloyed devotees, they can understand all this. Kshetra, Kshetragya, and Neya and Jnanam. Now, from 20 to 26, Lord is talking about Prakriti, Purusha and their union. So we have seen this elaborately. The material nature which makes up this body, and two Purushas. One Purusha is we, the living entities, the individual soul. But we are not the real Purusha. Real Purusha is Paramatma or the super soul. So here in this particular section, we have seen that how the living entities are beginningless and their transformations in the modes of matter are products of material nature. And then there are various other things that we saw. The living entity is the cause of the various sufferings and enjoyments in this world, whereas the nature is the cause of all material causes and effects. And then here we see about the super soul. Here we see about the living entity and the material nature. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of material nature. And this is due to what? Due to the association of the material nature. And because of this, Karanam Guna Sangosya, because of the Sangha of the three modes of material nature, he meets with good and evil among various species. He takes different bodies. So in this way, till shloka number 26, lots of wonderful concepts are mentioned about Prakriti, Purusha and their union. And finally, towards the end, shloka number 27 to 35, Jnana Chakshu is mentioned. The person who has got the clear vision, who can see things as they are. He understands in this clear vision, in this entire section, 27 to 35, what is that clear vision? What is that Jnana Chakshu that is spoken about? Like shloka number 27, it is spoken about every entity is a combination of Prakriti and Purusha. Everything that we see around is a combination of Prakriti, the material nature, and the living entity, the individual living entity. So that's how, everywhere the living entities are there. And then from 28 to 31, a true seer's vision of Jiva, Prakriti and Paramatma is mentioned. So there we understood very clearly how the Jiva, the spirit soul, individual spirit soul, and supreme spirit soul, that is super soul, they are different. Then we also understood how the individual soul, the body made up of the material elements, is different, and how the material body, which is made up of the material elements, and the super soul, they are different. So in this section, it was very clear that individual soul, super soul, and Prakriti, they are three different entities. And after that, finally, from shloka number 32 to 35, the non-doership of the soul is spoken about. That how the material body does everything. And what does the soul do? Soul is just a person, an entity which just desires. And the body works according to the three modes of material nature. So in this way, Krishna has given a very, very wonderful philosophical overview of the material nature, the individual soul, and the super soul. So with this, we end chapter number 13, and from next video onwards, we'll enter chapter number 14. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.